For USCFootball.com, I'm Nicole Shearin here with Chris Trevino for instant analysis of USC football's second to last spring practice of the spring camp season. So after practice, Lincoln Riley talked about what the format's going to look like for the spring game on Saturday. Chris, what are your thoughts about all of this?
Yeah, just to start off, this is our first instant analysis together, so it's a historic instant analysis.
Historical moment right now.
Historical moment. But yeah, Lincoln had kind of mentioned in a Saturday media call that they weren't ready to kind of unveil what the spring game format is going to look like. He kind of mentioned it, obviously he mentioned it today. He kind of said they're going to do just defense versus offense. They don't quite have enough bodies to sort of fill out a two-man squad, have a quarterback on each side. So it's just going to be strictly offense and defense. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of bragging this week of practice between those two sides. And he said there will be a scoring format that he hasn't revealed to us yet, but it'll be not confusing for the fans, so we're going to get to see a little bit of that. And, he was asked how much of this offense are they going to show. I know a lot of people want to see a show out there, high-flying big plays, defensive plays. He said they're going to be smart about it. They're not going to show a lot, but I know fans are excited to kind of see this offense with Caleb Williams, Miller Moss, all these new offensive weapons, to kind of see what that looks like in the Coliseum setting.
Lincoln touched on the fact that positions that are really standing out to him, especially in the second half of the spring camp season, tight ends was one thing. He also talked about he wants to use this spring game as a way to fix those dumb penalty errors, is what he said. So what do you think we're going to be able to see from this spring game on Saturday?
Yeah, I think we're going to be able to see a lot of what the offense has been working on. Caleb Williams had mentioned today that the offense has been installed already, and this week they've kind of been reinstalling the offense. I think that's just a way of saying, just get used to the motions of the offense. Once you take something apart, put it back together, do it multiple times, it gets stuck in your head, and I think that's just what they're kind of emphasizing. But I would expect a lot of big plays. He did say he was looking forward to seeing those tight end positions. That's a big weapon in this Lincoln Riley offense, and it's a position that hasn't been utilized at USC in a while. As someone, if you know me, I personally have a lot of stock invested in the tight end position, so Saturday could be you could see a big bump in my tight end stock. The run game is also something that they emphasize. I believe you talked to people that were kind of talking about how they wanted to see that emphasis on Saturday, and I know USC fans are clamoring for a run game. This is running back you. They want to see some of those plays made out on the field with the run game. And, Justin Dedich and that offensive line, they said they want to show how physical they can be with that starting unit.
Yeah, I spoke with Brett Neilon and Caleb Williams after practice. They both touched on the fact that the run game is going to be an aspect that is really going to stick out this season. Austin Jones has been the talk of the town this second half of spring camp. So what do you think that run game, one, are we going to be able to see that in the spring game? But two, what do we have to look forward to this season?
Yeah, I think with this Lincoln Riley offense and these running backs that they have, Darwin Barlow, Austin Jones, who Coach Kyle McDonald said last week is quote unquote balling. So he's probably the one who's standing out the most right now. And then obviously Travis Dye, an all Pac-12 level running back out of Oregon. What they do so well is catch passes. I know you watch a lot of the on-air drills, and you can see just how natural they are catching passes. They look like receivers out there. So I would expect to see a lot of the run game, see them trying to pound it with that offensive line, that veteran front they have. And then I expect them to move those wide receivers out, flex them out wide, put them in the slot, send them on deep routes, wheels, whatever that may be. So I expect a lot of running with the spring game and a lot of catching with those running backs.
Obviously, fans are already excited with the fact that we have a new head coach, essentially an entire new squad. This spring game is nationally covered by ESPN. So what do you think the hype around Saturday is going to carry over into the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's a televised game. The administration is doing everything they can to get fans out here. It's free to the public. If you didn't know, it is free to the public. There'll be a bunch of fan events. You can buy old, gear, USC gear, team issued gear. There's a big sale that's going on. So there's lots of events for everyone. There's food trucks. It is on ESPN, but that shouldn't stop you from coming out because I think it's going to be a very fun environment. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of recruits in attendance. There was a ton of recruits here today at practice, guys on their spring break, a bunch of coaches, parents. So I expect the atmosphere to be, 10 times what we see when recruits are here on campus. I think it's going to be electric. I think Caleb Williams had mentioned that he was hoping for 90,000. I don't know if we'll get 90,000. I was getting made fun of that I predicted 50,000. So I don't know what we're going to quite see, but I'm expecting, maybe close to that 25,000 range. So I expect the Coliseum to be put out and, there wasn't a lot of great showings in the Coliseum last year. There was a lot of L's, a lot of painful losses. So this will be the first game, since last season. This will be the first sort of game environment where fans can come and see the new era, and they want to put on a show. So especially that offense. Obviously, we talked to offensive players today. They're very excited about what they're going to be able to showcase. Not going to show the whole, all the tricks, but I think they're going to show enough to get fans really excited for this game. And, we hope, as reporters, we hope to see fans out there. We want to get that. We want to get a feel for that excitement. I've seen a lot of people say, I'm driving in, me and my family are coming in. So I expect a good attendance there. I expect an electric atmosphere.
Austin Jones touched on the fact that, for some of these guys, it's going to be one of their first games playing in the Coliseum. But for Austin Jones, he's playing on the other side. He's been, on that other team from Colorado, but he said, I'm with the good guys now. So I think it's going to be a very fun atmosphere for a lot of these guys who haven't played in this Coliseum before. But Chris, we need an injury update. We've had some key offensive injuries. We saw Gary Bryant getting, carried out on a golf cart. What was that? The last practice in the Coliseum. Yeah. Yep. What do we have update-wise with that?
Yeah, that was a big one. I think I mentioned on the Thursday incident analysis with Ryan that I was kind of iffy on if we would see Gary Bryant at Saturday's spring game, because he did get banged up in that Coliseum practice last Tuesday. He was carted off. Didn't look super serious, but he was holding, his calf, and, a guy who has battled some of those soft tissue injuries, muscle injuries, that's a big one. And then on Thursday, you saw him come out of the tunnel basically limping. He was not dressed out. He had a serious limp. And so that was worrisome to me. And I was like, I don't know if we're going to see number one out there. But today, he came out of the tunnel with cleats on, full pads. He looked like, he looked like $1 million. He looked fine. And he did the team warm-ups. He did not watch team warm-ups, which is a good indication of where they are health-wise. And he did do the on-air drills. It looked like he was a full participant for today. And, he seemed to be in good spirits. He seemed to be healthy. I asked Dennis Simmons about it, the wide receiver coach. He was a little cagey with his response. He said, I don't usually talk about injuries. I asked him, do you feel good about, having Gary available for this week? And he kind of, danced around it a little bit, but he did ultimately say that he did feel good about Gary Bryant's availability this weekend. So we'll have to see on that. And the other one is Darwin Barlow. That running back room is pretty light right now, just 3 scholarship running backs. I mentioned last week that Darwin, seemed to be with the rehab crew. I believe it was Thursday, and he didn't go and do individual drills. So he was dealing with something, but today I noticed that after team warm-ups, he went and did, the full on-air drill. So it seems like he's gotten over what was ailing him last week. So those were the 2 big ones. The main ones that are still there are, Colin Mobley was out. Lake McCree was not dressed out. Bobby Haskins still doing rehab in his shells. No cleats. So he's still recovering from that foot surgery. Mekhi Blackman, the cornerback, he was still out. And Xavier Alford has still been out as well. Josh Follow, the tight end, he was in full pads today, which I feel like is the first time I've seen him in full pads since week 1. So that is a good sign. But those are the majority of the injury updates. The one being Gary, looks like he's gotten a lot healthier in the last several days.
Now, Chris, your favorite thing to talk about, the gold plates. Should we have an analysis of what that is, the process? No, we're not, right? Because you don't want to.
Yeah, I'm over talking about what gold plates are. If you don't know what gold plates are, just Google it. I'm not taking up any more time explaining it. But today's gold plate editions, it looked like Alex Stathouse, the scholarship kicker, he did have his gold plate. Dennis Lynch, the preferred walk-on / the favorite kicker in my heart. He's like 5'4", but he can kick a 60-yard field goal. He's got that power. He was gold-plated. It looked like Mason Murphy, the redshirt freshman offensive tackle, it looked like he was gold-plated. I believe Adonis Ote, the cornerback, he was also gold-plated. And how do we know these things? Well, you look for the red shirt, because you also get a shirt with your decal. You look for that when they leave practice, and those were 2 red shirt guys that I saw. So looks like a couple more guys, got that big plate today, and it sounded like something was going on over there because you heard everyone go crazy, right before practice ended. So I'm assuming someone got a lot of love for getting their gold plate.
Now, Chris, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off from the second to last spring football practice?
No, I think it was a little bit interesting that we were expecting to be in the Coliseum today. They threw a curveball at us yesterday. They kind of said, nope, we're going back to Howard Jones Field. I don't know what that was about. Maybe it's to keep the players on their toes a little bit. But this will be, the final padded practice, as we mentioned. It seemed like they were emphasizing tackling in the earlier parts of practice. You saw the edge defenders, working with that giant donut, trying to tackle it. You saw the...
What was that? That giant what?
Donut. Donut, yeah. This motion, if someone could make that a GIF for me, that'd be much appreciated. But they were working with that tackling dummy, and then the defensive lines were also working on wrapping up a tackling dummy. Linebackers were, they would have someone mimic being a running back, and then they would tackle them into a crash pad. So being the last padded practice, it makes sense that they're trying to emphasize tackling going on. Thursday not being a full pads practice, so they're going to do a little bit more, situational stuff, not as physical as other practices have been, and sort of a walkthrough for what we're going to see on Saturday. So it'll be a nice little rehearsal, if you will, for what's going to go on in the Coliseum.
Well, we have the final spring practice on Thursday and then the spring game on Saturday, but that's going to do it for instant analysis of USC football's second to last spring football practice. For Chris Trevino, I'm Nicole Shearin. Check out uscfootball.com for more.